This is Bharat FM.
नमस्कार, सत श्री अकाल, आदाब, गुड मॉर्निंग दोस्तों। भारत एफएम के इस कार्यक्रम में जिसका नाम है रूबरू, आपका तहे दिल से स्वागत है और मैं हूं आपका होस्ट और आपका दोस्त आशीष झा। आज जो हमारे सामने रूबरू हो रही हैं उनका नाम है अनुपमा राव मिर्ले। तो वैसे तो आपने फेसबुक पे इवेंट फेज में आपने देखा ही होगा कि उनके अकम्पलिशमेंट्स क्या हैं और उन्होंने क्या क्या ख्याति प्राप्त की है। जैसे कि जस्ट फॉर एन एग्जाम्पल आई विल लेट यू नो दैट शी इज अ वेरी प्रोक्लेम्ड डांसर इन बोथ भरतनाट्यम एंड ओडिसी। सो दैट इज जस्ट वन पार्ट ऑफ इट। लेकिन मैं अपने मुंह से जो कहूं उससे पहले मैं चाहता हूं कि मैं अनुपमा जी का स्वागत करूं। सो अनुपमा, वेलकम ऑन आवर शो रूबरू। And before we start the program, we want to let our viewers and our listeners know about you in a very brief introduction, and then we will get into the details. Can't hear you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first of all, Anupama, is it okay for me to call you Anupama? Is that okay?
Yes.
All right.
That is my name.
All right. Okay. So, Anupama, first of all, tell our listeners and our viewers who is Anupama Rao Mirle? Who are you?
You know, that is a very philosophical question
Okay.
that I keep asking myself who I am. I think everybody wears multiple hats, and so do I. I am a wife, a daughter, a sister, I think a good friend, you know, that whole list of things. And then I studied chemistry. I did my master's in chemistry. Then I went on to do my MBA. And my dance teacher gave me the opportunity to do my MFA in dance.
Wow. Okay.
So most recently, I finished it in 2015, actually.
Oh, I see. So, what does MFA is? Masters in
Fine arts.
Fine arts. Okay, awesome. That's so. You already have like 3 master's degree.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
So Anupama, first of all, what message do you want to share with our viewers over here?
I think one of the most important thing is I want people to know, ultimately, I think satisfaction and happiness is the most important thing. Yes, we need bread and butter, but to be able to follow your passion, if you are able to do it, you should, to whatever extent that you can.
That is correct. That is correct. So, before we move on, tell us a little bit about your childhood days. Like, where did you grow up, and how did you get into this passion that you are following right now? Like, at what point did you feel that this is what I need to do in life, this is where I need to go, and this I need to follow my passion? How did that start? Where did it start?
I come from a interesting background. I have one set of grandparents who were completely into the arts, one set of grandparents where music was not allowed.
That is tough. Okay.
Yeah. So we always grew with that balance that education is very important. And my mother made it very clear on the onset that as long as you are okay in school, you can follow art. But the moment you slip, we cannot send you for anything.
Right.
So I remember my mother telling my dance teacher every once in a while, she's coming this month. We don't know if she'll come the next month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's how I learned it, with the intention of always going into a regular job like how people do. It was more for my mother's sake, I think, that I ended up learning in the beginning. And I have a feeling she sent me, I don't remember when I joined class. I think Sound of Music had just come, I think, at that time. And I think my mother says they sold their sofa because I used to jump on it a lot.
Okay.
And then she said, this child needs to get out of the house and do something. And that's how I ended up learning dance.
I see. Okay.
That was my journey into dance. And I honestly didn't know that my dance teacher was such a big person or anything, because I grew up in a small town, a steel town. Rourkela in Orissa. My father is, I hate to say was, he just passed away in February.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. He's an electrical engineer, and he went on to do his MIE in UK, and then he had come back. So for him, education was very important and sports was important.
I see.
He
Okay.
was a badminton champion at his college, a swimming champion at his college, and a
So
Greek
did
champion.
so did you ever get into sports?
So he was very particular. I ended up learning. Yes,
Oh,
I
okay.
did. Yeah,
Okay.
he was very particular that I have to be in sports.
Okay.
And I grew up a tomboy. I used to hang out a lot with boys.
Okay.
I
Okay.
somehow never got along hanging out with girls. So that's how I was.
Okay.
So that was my childhood in a small town. And I didn't know who my teacher was until actually I got married and I came to the US to study and I met my husband here.
So from Raurkela, you directly came here, or
I
was it?
came to the US, yes.
Oh, wow. So did you learn both Bharatnatyam and Odissi both in Raurkela?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So
So
you were getting trained on both the forms of dance at the same time.
yeah, there was a period of time when I would do 1 week Odissi, 1 week Bharatnatyam
Oh, wow.
uh,
Okay.
because I was in both.
That's
My
the
yeah,
passion
when
that is showing up.
I finished my Arangetram when I was 14, and then my teacher got married and went to Bombay. She wanted me to come there to study, but coming from a conservative house, it's not possible.
Oh, okay.
So then she said, pick up Odissi.
I see. Okay. Okay.
So she's the one who actually asked me to do that, and my mother said, okay. And I ended up picking that up. Again, conservative household. They wanted me to go to Cuttack for a TV program, but my parents said, no, this child is not going anywhere. So I
Okay.
was happy. I did not question anything. And, I was like, okay, as long as I'm dancing, I was very happy.
Right. Right. So
And
how
I
was
came
your
to
journey?
study.
Sorry about that. Sorry for interrupting. I was just going to ask that how was your journey from Raurkela to the US, and how did you meet your husband, and how has he been supporting you in your passion?
Um, so then I decided that I wanted to see if I could study abroad. And I already have an extensive family here.
Oh, okay.
And I came to Houston to my cousin's house. And my husband's Srinivas's sister is married into the same family that my cousin is married into.
Oh, small world. Huh.
Yeah. So that's how the introduction happened. And of course, I don't want to put this on record, but I made it very clear to him, you can come and see me, but I'm not interested in getting married. Right?
Okay. And he's watching the show, right?
Yes, he's watching the show. Right.
Okay.
So that's how it started. But then I guess, fate, I guess, or history, whatever, takes you a different way.
Yeah. You just couldn't
He is my
resist, right?
rock for dance because when I came to the country, I did not even bring my ghungru, I did not bring my costume, nothing.
Hmm.
Because mentally I knew that I had the opportunity for art and now was time for education and it was very important for our family. So I figured that's okay, I'll just do it.
Okay.
So when I met him and he asked me, why would you spend so many years on learning something and just drop it like hot bricks? So we had that conversation for a while. I did not dance for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Back to
For 10
school.
years. That's a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah. And I went back to school. My son was born, and then we moved to Cincinnati. At that point, I told him at least I want something in the basement so that I can dance when I want to.
Okay. Okay.
And our son was, I think, a year and a half at that point, and both of us are culturally and artistically oriented. We wanted to make sure that our child picks up Indian culture. So
Right.
we got very lucky to have a group of 5 families who later on ended up becoming our core group.
Wow. Okay.
Uh, and we all wanted similar things for our kids. And believe it or not, out of the 5 families, 4 of us were dancers.
Oh, wow. Well, then, of course, then you guys were going to do well because
Yeah.
of five.
So we used to hang out sometimes, just choreograph after meeting for dinner or something. Just let the kids be. So that is how it started. And then I started teaching because they were like, oh, can you please teach? And very early on, I realized people are not coming to me for dance. It is for sustaining culture.
Oh, okay, I see. So the other friends that you had, the four friends that you mentioned, were they also Bharatnatyam Orisi, or was it a different
Bharatanatyam.
form? Okay, Bharatnatyam.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
All right.
Her husband actually went on to become the board president for my dance school when we
Oh,
got.
wow. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So I've got support. I've been very fortunate every step
Yeah,
of the
so
way.
you were talking about that they were not coming for the dance, they were coming for the culture. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, because I think what happens is for people want dance, but you want your child, just as I wanted my child, to be surrounded by like minded people, like looking people,
Hmm.
and for the children to know that it is okay to talk your language, to share things like we eat rice and dal and we do this, we do that. Those were, I think, more important things
Hmm.
than the actual dance.
Right, right.
And that honestly is culture. It's
That is
not so much dance.
that is true. I would agree. So, Anupama, I know that there are lots of fun experiences that you have had in your journey in your career, but could you mention a couple of them which have stayed in your mind forever, and it is something that you will never forget ever in your life? The couple of them.
Yeah, I think the first early on is my lunch with my husband, where we decided that I will quit PNG
Oh,
and go on to teaching full time.
oh, I see.
We didn't know what was in store for us, and I appreciate him because it was a reduction in money coming in.
Yeah. Hmm.
And even till this day, for the most part, he stands by me.
That's amazing. That is really awesome. Yeah,
Yeah. So I think that lunch for me was a turning point.
I see. Okay,
That
okay,
is one on a very serious note. On a fun note, my son ended up going to India for 3 years for studies,
okay.
and he was staying with my parents. And the school that he went to, they wanted me to. They realized that I was a dancer, and they wanted me to do something with their school.
Hmm.
We had just finished working with Suhas. Suhas, I don't know where she is in the country, but both of us had come up with a 90-minute journey, 5,000-year journey of India
Oh,
for the 60th birthday of India.
wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
We had just finished working on that, and we had presented it at Hebrew University,
Okay.
uh, at Hebrew College
Oh,
here
okay.
in Sam,
Okay. Okay.
because they were doing a series of called Birth of Nations, and we presented it as part of that.
I see. One thing,
And
while I was looking at your profile, there are a couple of things that attracted me basically. And when it comes to fun experiences, you had mentioned that you taught like 120 elementary kids in
that
Mysore.
was at this school, my son's school.
That was your son's
Um,
school. Okay.
yes,
How
that
did
was
you
in
manage
India.
120 elementary kids?
Yeah, it was. I was actually very scared because I had never taught at that level. And I mean, we already had all the scenes, everything delineated, but the school was very supportive. The class teachers were very supportive, and finally ended up working with each class on doing different parts. And I think it was, for me, it was a very memorable experience.
Right, right.
My son chose not to participate.
Oh, really?
Yes, because he was like, Mom, I don't want to be. I said, it's okay because people have an option.
Right.
They were given, so you have the right to choose also,
Correct, correct.
right? He
That.
did not participate, but 120 kids did.
And another thing that I saw was you were associate choreographer for Jungle Book.
Yes,
Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, that's an amazing experience, I'm pretty sure.
it is. I think Roderick Justice, he is the executive director of Children's Theatre.
Right.
And I got an email from him one day, and my reaction was, maybe this is spam, because I did not expect anybody to reach across for something like this. And so then I went back and checked. I said, okay, this is a bona fide person. So let me see what this is about. And he came to our studio, and I showed him our dance style is very different. And just so that you're aware of it. And he came, he saw, and he said, I really like it. Would we be able to mix this into the ensemble group? And I was not very sure, but I said, if you want to try, I can try.
Right. Right.
And it was an amazing journey.
Okay. Okay. So this was the Jungle Book version on the stage, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it is Disney's Jungle Book that Children's Theatre did for kids.
Right. Right. So was it in Cincinnati or did they do? This was
Cincinnati.
in Cincinnati. Oh, okay. So how many kids or people were involved in this whole thing?
We went through the audition process.
Oh, okay.
And so it was the ensemble group that pretty much participated. So there was a main choreographer, and we kind of worked out which areas, which music rhythms, which measures would be good for our style.
Okay.
And we divided the piece, and both of us actually ended up working together
Okay.
on bringing some movements in. And I have some of my dancer friends who came for the program, and they said, we recognize movements.
Right.
And it is a great feeling. I think you get validated
Right. Right. Right.
when you see it on main stage.
Correct, correct. That is true. Yeah, that must be an amazing experience, I'm pretty sure. Okay, let's move on to some of your recognitions that you have had in your journey. UNESCO, tell a little bit about that association that you had.
Yeah, UNESCO, I got invited to be a member of UNESCO. And at this point, actually, my husband was doing a 3-year stint in India.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was traveling back and forth.
Okay.
And I still hold it against him that he did not come to Greece because I had to perform there in Athens.
Okay.
Because I was looking forward, after that, we could go for a cruise. But he never did. So if he's listening to this,
Oh my God.
he owes me one.
आज उसकी खैर नहीं इंटरव्यू के बाद.
So that was part of it. And it was a very nice experience again, because you got to see different styles which I had never seen.
Right.
And it opened my eyes to Europe and their passion about dance. And I knew it on the periphery, but I never really had plugged in much. I was more in my own world of classical dance.
Right.
And that may have been my turning point where I started getting involved in other things
I
other
see.
than Indian dance.
So when was this? Which
2007.
2007. Okay. So at that point, you had already started with your classes over here, your music group and everything?
We incorporated the dance school in 2004.
Four. Okay. Oh.
And we actually worked with Kanikeshwaran for the
I was
first
going to
music
come to that a little
one
later.
that
Yes.
he actually did for us. And I think it was a wonderful experience. We had 70 artists. Most of them were not hardcore dancers.
Oh,
They
wow.
were just a group, handful of us who were hardcore dancers. So it was a lot of effort, but I think it was a great experience.
So I mean, good that you mentioned that. So when you have so many dancers where you are trying to coordinate and synchronize the steps of the dance. Now, if you're a dancer, it's easier to get it quicker. How do you manage, like as you mentioned, there were few dancers who were not hardcore dancers. How do you manage to coordinate and sync up with everybody on such a large scale? How do you do that?
You end up doing by levels.
I see.
And I ended up actually giving free classes to a lot of people because I needed them to know the basic steps
Right, right. Okay,
so
so
that we could incorporate it. Some were comfortable and stepped up to the plate and said, yes, I want to do this. Some were like, no, put us somewhere where it's kind of folk dance-ish. So then we did that. So we worked, it was a conversation. You work with the people and you see what they're
who's
comfortable
comfortable with
doing.
what? Yeah. Okay. 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 Sounds good. So another thing that I wanted to ask you about was the OAC Heritage Fellow. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, how did that happen?
Honestly, I don't know how it happened, but it was nice to get that letter of recognition because I did not even know that at that point I had been involved with the Ohio Arts Council
Okay.
for a few years. We had been having conversations, and so they knew what was going on and what I was doing. But it was, I think, again a validation when it is an outside non-Indian organization that recognizes the
Right.
Indian contribution.
Right. Right.
I think for me that was more powerful.
Again, another validation, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, it is like the Indian has arrived kind of a thing.
Right. That's amazing. I mean, to be able to promote Indian culture over here in Cincinnati and people actually recognizing it, that's a big thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's amazing. So I saw something on your profile about Dada Rafiki. I'm sorry about that. I did not understand what exactly because I'm not into Bharatnatyam Odyssey. I'm not even sure if it is related to that. So,
It is not.
oh, okay, all
It
right.
is a group of women who actually do activities for the community.
Where is this in over
It
here?
is in Cincinnati. It is based in
Oh,
Cincinnati. It is started by an artist herself,
oh,
Annie Ruth,
okay.
an amazing artist.
Oh, okay.
And one of my board members, Toylin, she is also an artist herself. She's a media artist. And she knows Annie very well. And that's how I started meeting different people. Because when I got Toylin on our board, my world started expanding because I started going for different kinds of events. And
Okay.
she's like, you should come and see this, you should do this.
Okay.
Then
So
I
this is
started
not
going.
a Indian community group
It
as
is
such.
not.
Because when I read it as Dada Rafiki. I don't know if that is how it is. I'm
I
sorry.
think it is, what is that language of, God, I cannot remember. South African, Nelson Mandela's language. What is that? Swahili.
Swahili.
I
Swahili.
think
Oh,
it is Swahili.
so this is Swahili? Dada Rafiki
I
is
think
Swahili?
it is Swahili. It is, and I'll come back and let you know what it is. But
Oh.
it is not an Indian, it is not an English word.
Oh, I see. Okay. See, I'm learning something new today. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, now talking about couple of shows that you have done here. You did something called as Ritu in 2004. Tell us a little bit about that. What was it?
That was the first program we did under the banner of Nritya Arpana as an incorporated entity.
Okay.
And we did it basically celebration of seasons. It can be seasons as you see in outside nature or the seasons that we go through as a human being.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
So
Okay.
it was done on two levels.
Okay. Okay.
And my husband and I worked on that.
Hmm.
And it was a good journey for us too. And that was 2004. Then I decided, by then, I think I had started getting involved in some of the Sanskrit works and all that. So I wanted to do Ritu Samhara of Kalidasa
Oh, okay.
under the same name. So then I pretty much sat with some of my orchestra people, and then it took me a couple of years to get to the point, and then my mother helped me select some of the verses. I had done Ritu as a young child, maybe 10, 11-year old, that my teacher had choreographed, which I honestly don't remember the details, but I remember the excitement of dancing it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that
So
was
my
always there
mother,
in your mind.
right,
It was there, and then you always felt like, can I
yes,
retry this and can I try this
yes.
again? Wow.
I
See, there are
wanted
certain
to
things in your childhood
recreate
that
it.
stay in your head for a long time. And if you get an opportunity to do that again, and you would definitely go ahead and do that. So, yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
And it's amazing how teachers have an impact on you. You don't realize. Because I think a lot of things that I do, I can now go back and kind of trace it to my dance classes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so it's a nice feeling. It's a,
So your
comfort
teachers for both, I'm assuming that for both Bharatnatyam and Odissi, there would have been two different teachers. It was not the same
Yes,
teacher teaching you.
yes.
So are you still in touch with them?
My teacher in Bharatnatyam, yes. She actually went on to get her doctorate in dance under Dr. Padma Subramaniam.
Okay.
And she has her own school in Sion. I went back to her in 2009, I think, when I realized that I don't know how I learned dance because I don't remember the learning process. I just remember performing and, so then I went back to her and I stayed with her. I stayed in Bombay for 10 days and I said, help me figure out a pedagogy for this because I don't know how to teach.
Right. Right.
So that's when I reconnected with her, and it's been, I've been in touch with her off and on. She knew that I wanted to do something beyond once I knew that this was going to be my career. And then she reached out to my mother that Dr. Padma Subramaniam was starting a distance education program and that I should audition for it.
Okay.
So that's how it started.
So
It has been in my life,
right,
actually.
right. So when you are teaching, do you now you are well versed with both Bharatnatyam and Odissi, but when you are teaching, do you teach specifically only Bharatnatyam or only Odissi or both?
I teach only Bharatnatyam.
Bharatnatyam. So I was about to coming to that. The reason I asked you that question is, was there any particular preference that you had when you were learning both of them? And if not, then how would you compare? Not compare, I would say they both have their own identity. But what is different between those two forms, and how did you choose Bharatnatyam over Odissi?
Okay. It's very easy to answer. I firmly believe that if you are going to be teaching, you should be trained.
Correct. Hmm.
And I was just getting ready for my Mancha Pravesh in Odissi, and I fell sick with chickenpox
Oh,
because the end part of my training was I was going to teach for 6 months in the school.
okay.
If I had completed that, I would have probably ended up teaching Odissi too.
Oh, okay. I see. So, but could you have done that after you were well, and then could you have done that later?
Then I came to this country and, so many things changed. And if you lose a window of opportunity,
That is,
sometimes
that is true.
you never can go back.
I see. So, and by that time, you had already completed the Bharatnatyam part of it. That was.
Bharatanatyam I finished when I was 14.
Oh,
I had
wow.
finished my Arangetram when I was 14. And
Oh,
I used to help teach how, like even I do it for my students. My older kids, I'll ask them, help teach this, help teach that.
right,
So I was more comfortable teaching Bharatanatyam because I had already kind of gone through the process,
right,
not formally,
right,
but informally. But
right.
Odissi, I was learning one on one. I never really taught anybody.
Okay, all right.
So that
Good.
is why my teacher was very particular that I go through the 6 month program where I teach. But then I couldn't because I fell sick.
I see. Okay.
So then I actually have a friend in Cincinnati. She's an Odissi dancer herself that we performed in Duke Energy last year. We performed together.
Really?
Yeah. Um, I want to learn from her. Let's see. I know if it's there, if it's meant to be, then I will.
So, what was the occasion that you did this at
It
Duke?
was the Kannada language international conference
Oh,
goes travels different parts of the country,
okay.
and they chose Cincinnati, Ohio, actually, as the uh, venue last year.
I see. Okay.
So I was the dance chair for that.
Oh, awesome. Very
Yeah,
nice. How was your experience over there? I mean,
I
how did that happen?
liked it. I am not an admin person, I think, but I enjoyed it
That
because
cannot be true. That cannot be true, Anupama, because if you're running an organization which is a dance organization and you have your own studio, there is a lot of admin stuff that you need to go through. Now,
yes,
unless your husband is handling that, that's a different story altogether.
I wish I could say yes, but no.
आज श्री की घर में पिटाई होने वाली है.
He's probably making a list of things. It's like, why did you say this? Why did you say this?
Okay. So you are managing that on your own, right? The complete Nrityarpan.
Yeah.
So now again, correct me if I'm wrong. I have always been pronouncing it as Nrityarpan, but I just saw you saying it as Nritya Arpana. Is it Nritya Arpana or is it Nrityarpan?
Okay, that is phonetics of Indian languages,
Right.
because for Sanskrit, you have even the akara, the short a, is it can be there or it doesn't have to be there,
Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
Because you can have with the halant, or you can have short, or you can have a long vowel,
Right.
right? The Sanskrit word arpana has the short vowel a.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But when you say it in Hindi, it does not have the short vowel A.
Oh, I see. So if you look at it from Sanskrit perspective, it is Nrityarpana, but when you see it as a Hindi perspective, it is Nrityarpan. I
Right.
see. But they mean the same thing, I'm
They
assuming.
mean the same thing because
Okay.
it is dance as an offering.
That's exactly my point. That's what I thought, and that's why I was calling it as Nrityarpan because that's what my understanding was. But thanks for explaining that. I will keep that in mind. Thank you. Now moving on, Anupama, what is this Shama up in smoke? What is that?
Yeah, that was a very interesting experience for me because I was working with a group in Columbus.
Uh-huh.
This was probably in 2007, 2008, around that time. And I had just become a member of UNESCO, and my world had exploded about different art forms and everything. And I was thirsty, I think, for more knowledge about different art forms.
Right.
So that was the point I was in. And this group, I was talking to this lady, and she said, some seminars are so dry for kids, but it's required.
Right.
And the smoking, that's the point when there were a lot of class action suits against tobacco companies.
Ah, okay.
That was the period of time.
I
So there
see.
was a lot of anti-smoking slogans and seminars and all kinds of things going on.
Right.
And she said it would be very nice if we could actually present it in a theatrical way, that the children don't sleep through 45 minutes of dry talk.
Right. Right. That's awesome.
So that is what it was. So we took all the material, like maybe like 45, 50 pages of material. And my first group of Arangetram kids, Kavya and Sandhya, and I think Nisha too was there. We worked because they were high schoolers at that point. And I said, okay, put this in a format that you will be also willing to listen to. So we did it as a mixture of dance, music, and sharing through PowerPoint. We were not as technologically advanced. If I were to do it again now, probably I would do it differently. But it was a learning experience. I did not know so much of data about smoking and its the benefits of not being us around smokers and things like that. Secondhand smoke, I wasn't aware of it. So it was a good learning for me too.
Okay. So now coming to Gajdi Javani. How did you get associated? First of all, tell our listeners and viewers what is Gajdi Javani and how did Nrityarpana get associated with Gajdi Javani? Tell us a little bit of the history behind it.
Um, I got into it because of my son. My son, I used to keep bugging my son, you should do dance, because for me, I was like, how can a person not dance?
Especially your son, right?
And I think I used to really bug him a lot. And I was pleasantly surprised when he said, Mom, I'm going to audition for a Bhangra group. At that point, I was like, do whatever, I don't care what it is. So I was over the moon,
Okay.
right? And he started working out, and I said, wow, this is really nice to go just for an audition. You're getting ready. So he was serious about it. And I said, okay, that's how I got to know the kids.
Okay.
We used to hang out during summer and all that. And I came to know them. And one summer, I think we were just talking, my son and I think this happens to most Indian parents. They you go through conversations about, do you really need to buy this? My husband does that even with me today, so
Right. Uh-huh.
never grow up. Uh, right? And I told him, maybe you should go and see how people live.
Right.
And that was actually the reason why it started. My cousin's son, my cousin is in Cincinnati, he's an anesthesiologist. His son had gone for this program. And he said, maybe Vikrant should go for this and it'll be good.
So this program that you are talking about is Gajdi Javani?
No. So then I went and met, this is called Breakthrough.
Okay.
And I went and met, they were at CCDS. And I went and met the lady, Patricia, I forget her last name. And she said, we have never worked with an outside group. We can't do anything because there are too many liabilities.
Okay.
And I said, okay, fair enough. But I would like my son to at least come and experience what this is and see how much children are trying to learn coming from all kinds of backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I left it at that. Then 2 weeks later, I got a call from her. And she said, do you want to come and talk? Because we talked about this at our board with our board members. And they were like, why don't we try it?
Okay.
So the first was a pilot. And of course, the group that I would reach out to is my son's group, because I knew that the only way I can talk to him is through his friends.
Right. Yeah.
So that was the reason why I started.
Okay.
And I don't know how many of them really wanted to be part of it and were nice enough to tell me, not to my face, that auntie, we don't want to do this.
So what exactly happens over there?
It was because the first class was so interesting. We decided that we wanted to, I had to come up with a lesson plan because it's a 6-week summer program. And we were going to offer Indian rhythms as a mini course for children to enroll. And through that, learn about India, like a social studies program.
And what kind of students come over there? Like, what is
They are currently, I think, CPS kids, Cincinnati Public School kids.
Okay.
And they have a vetting process where they have 4 or 5 requirements that they have to be, pretty much they're at-risk kids.
I see. Okay.
And if they were not, they are bright children. If they are not kept occupied, they will get into trouble.
Okay.
So, and they don't have the family support system and the community support system to give them programs to keep them occupied and keep them safe.
I see.
So this is, and it's in part scholastic, in part recreational. That's how this program is.
Okay. And this is something that you're doing it for free as a contribution.
Yes.
Okay, to the community. It's basically help to the society, to the community.
Yeah.
Is what we're doing.
Because honestly, we also benefit from it because, to catch the bull by its horns, we are having so many conversations about racial issues.
Oh, really? Okay.
And if we are able to help one child see a different colored person, a different background person as a human being, and not by the color that they are or by how they talk or how they look, then I think the world will be a better place.
I would agree. That's an amazing cause that you're into. So all our best wishes and good luck to you on that.
And Gajdi has been with me from day one.
Right.
I applaud those kids because they are the ones who do the work.
Right.
And through their different groups, they have been part of it. So I'm hoping that they will get something out of it because it will teach them how to interact with people who are very different from them.
Right.
Very early on in life. And this helps when we go into global situations at work.
Right. That is correct. Yeah. I mean, that's a very good experience for these kids from Gajdi Javani. Right. So how was the response that you received from this group when Gajdi Javani started this, and how has it been all through this time? Like, I'm sure it has been positive, that's why you continued, but any specific instance or something that comes to your mind that has stayed in your mind based on the experiences that these kids have had.
Yeah, that first month, that first session was very interesting. If we can actually sometime later bring those kids back and talk about Indian rhythms, it'll be great because they went through the journey. It was an amazing journey. The first class that we entered, there was so much of animosity
Oh, okay.
that
Yeah, of course.
I was scared, and I was like, what am I doing bringing my students, my kids into such a situation? And I remember going and talking to the director and saying, I don't know if this will work. We'll only do it for 2 weeks. And if it doesn't work, because it almost became a safety issue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the kids were not physically, violent, but belligerent.
I see. Okay.
Because Indians can come across, very snobbish.
So how did that change? What did you do?
It was a journey, I think, for both groups, the teaching group of kids and for the kids who were part of it. And by the end of it, these kids, the first group, ended up getting such cute love notes, and they were in tears, and it was a very emotional summer for all of us.
I see.
And that is what made me believe that I think there is more to this.
Right. So
And
when was this? When did you start again?
2014.
So it's been 6 years now. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I went back to Breakthrough, and I bugged them. And I said, I don't need money. We just need the opportunity. And I think this is going to work.
okay, that's awesome. That's really, really good
Yeah.
that you're doing. Uh, so, Anupama, uh, what made you pick this as a career? Like leaving, you were working for PNG, right?
Yes.
So as you mentioned, it's a very, very difficult and tough decision. I know that your husband supported you with your decision, but even thinking and then implementing it is not something not that everybody does. There are very few people who are able to take this bold step and move forward and follow their passion. So what made you do this? And tell us a little in detail about this.
Yeah. I think it's, you know, life throws us curved balls. And I was at a point, my son actually was underweight. It's
Oh,
hard to believe when you see him now, but he was actually underweight and he used to throw up. He could not keep things down.
oh,
And I overreacted maybe now looking back, but I was not ready to send him to daycare. Just was not working.
is that an Indian mom coming into the
I
picture?
think it is. It is.
Okay.
And I went through a lot of pangs. And we were not able to have family to come and be with us to help us through the process. And I was not ready for having anything else. And both my husband and I were working in the same building, and it didn't make sense for us to go in two cars,
Hmm.
even though we had to, because he used to drop our son and I would come and pick up. And both of us were working in labs. And experiments run over and you cannot do it. And I was a basket case. And I think I made my husband's life also miserable. And so that was one of the reasons, because I was like, why can't I stay home and do this?
Right, right.
And that was, I think, another big factor for me. And I'm very happy that I could be home until my son was in ninth grade. That is when we moved to the first location.
I see. So the
So,
current location that you have is not the first location?
no, the
Oh,
current, yeah, it is actually, we were in Mason, the
I
first
see.
location,
Oh, okay.
because we ended up getting a letter from the HOA that there's too much of activity.
Oh, really?
And so then option was either I close it or I move out.
But so this was in the business area that you had the studio?
Yes.
So how was somebody complaining about it? Like
No,
if
no,
you know
no.
that
I
it's
was first teaching out of my basement until from 2004 until 2011.
oh, I see. So that is why you moved to the studio because you received complaint where you were staying from that HOA. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I see. Okay. So
Because we had created a separate door, because we knew that in the event that I want to teach, so we had a separate door, but it didn't work.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you started in Mason and then now you moved to what is that location called? Westchester, right?
Westchester, yeah.
So what was the reason of moving from Mason to Westchester?
I moved to Mason, and within 2 years, I started getting requests from people. We want to use your space for a rehearsal. We all of us tend to have basements that can handle people and practices, but major rehearsals and all that. And then I started seeing why people don't use other studios. I think that sense of pride that it is ours, that was coming up. And then I thought maybe there is something that the community needs to call their own,
Right, right.
where we don't have to go somewhere else.
Correct.
And what makes this different is India, like the US, is very secular. We have many religions, but one person from one religion is not comfortable going to another space to use that for practice. So if you want to bring people from different religions to be part of one program, you need a space that is not bound by religion.
Correct.
And a cultural space is the best, because irrespective of our religions, we are all the same culturally.
Right, right. So over here,
I'm Asian, we are the same.
right. So over here at Nrityarpana, other than teaching dances, you have other activities that also happens at the studio?
Yeah, we are building it because we just moved in 2018,
I
and
see.
then we had 6 8 months of build out,
Okay.
and we were actually getting ready January of 2020 to have full marketing and everything.
Okay.
And then my father fell sick, then I was not there, and then when I came back, COVID hit.
What happened? Oh, sorry to hear all that, but
That's okay.
let's be hopeful and all our best wishes and good luck in your endeavor on that. Now, coming to that point, what are the plans that you have for future as far as your journey is concerned? Like, what do you have in mind? What is building up?
It's a, if I were to share my dream, I want something for Greater Cincinnati that can live beyond us.
That is amazing. That's an amazing thought.
Space that we can go to, that, like how now Gashti comes and practices,
Correct.
and we have other people who come and use it. That is what ideally I would like. I don't know whether that's just a dream or maybe it could be a reality. I don't know what it's in store. I didn't know the last 14 years how it was going to be.
Right.
So I don't know the future, but I think that's what it is, because teachers come and go,
Correct.
but
Right.
the culture stays.
Right, that's true. Well, the reality always comes true only if you dream it. So, without dreaming, I mean, there is not possible. So, keep dreaming, I would say, and our best wishes and good luck will always be with you. Now, since we have some time, changing the focus a little bit out of you and on your husband a little bit while we are talking. Tell us a little bit about him, and also, I know that he is involved with couple of social causes as well. So tell us a little bit about that as well. So start with him first and his social causes after that.
How do you describe larger than life kind of a thing, right? For me, there are different facets of him. Um, One thing is, as a family person, I mean, you know, he has been with me. Yes, I think every family goes through ups and downs, and we have had our share. And it's a journey. So, but I think for the most part, I think I have to say that he's been supportive. And he is also a dreamer like me. And sometimes it can get probably very, very testy, because we end up in this zone where it's so abstract that neither of us can grapple what is the reality. And it's a good place to be in sometimes, but sometimes you don't realize that there is a cliff,
Right.
and that you have this free fall, and then you are like, here, wait a minute, we need to readjust.
Right.
So yeah, so that's what it is. He's a surface scientist.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And he has a similar story like mine in the sense he came from a family where education was very important, and a side of the family where they are fun loving. I mean, I enjoyed joining that family because I got to see what it is to have fun and be able to laugh for hours.
Wow.
They are amazing. So that is one side of the family. The other side is very education focused and very, very cerebral.
Okay.
So he has both in them.
Right. So what are the
And
social causes that he's involved with?
yeah, so he got involved in aid. It was an interesting story. We actually were in Maryland when aid started.
Uh-huh.
And we used to go for the programs. We were not involved because I was in school, but he was part of a theater group because he had already finished and he had free time.
I was going to ask you about that too. Like, I know that he's involved with the theater group, and
हाँ, नाटी
घर
भारती
में भी कुछ नौटंकी करता है क्या?
घर में काफी करते हैं. We don't need TV हमारे घर में इसीलिए.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's like a soap opera.
Yeah. Right. So
I just
continue with your
wanted to
story
go
on
down
aid.
the
Sorry.
plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never used to speak, believe it or not, क्योंकि I was comfortable dancing, but I was not one for speaking. Meeting him actually kind of changed that. क्योंकि पहले I used to only help backstage. I never used to do anything on stage. I had stage fright. And then he ended up wanting to do Bhoma, which is Badal Sarkar's drama.
Play. Uh-huh.
And that is partial dance and partial choreography. And he needed 5 people for that. And I told him very clearly, I will help you, but don't ask me to come on stage and do anything other than dance.
Right.
So we started that journey. And then 2 weeks before the first program, one of the girls, she fell sick.
Okay.
So guess who had to do it? And my voice was so soft that he used to give me voice training. He will laugh at it now and probably regret it. But he used to stand at one end, from one end of the room to the other, and he used to ask me to throw my voice because it would not reach the other end of the room.
Yeah. With on stage, that is more important to basically be able to throw your voice. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I used to cry. I'm like, I don't know why I married you because, this is
You're making me do horrible things.
and there were only 2 weeks. So then he said, you already know the choreography, so it's just a few lines that you have to learn.
Right.
So that was my introduction to doing things on stage.
Stage. Uh-huh.
And that is him. You cannot say no to him. That's just how he is.
I see. Okay. Okay. So
Oh.
how did he get involved with aid, and how is it?
It was interesting. So we knew about aid. Then we came to Cincinnati and the Orissa floods happened.
Okay.
And I am from Orissa. I think I associate myself more with being from eastern part of India than southern part.
I see. Okay.
And a lot of people think I don't look South Indian, I look more Bengali, which is okay. I'm perfectly fine with it. But we wanted to do something. And we reached out to many organizations and aid came forward.
Acha. Okay.
Aid came forward and that's how we got involved. And then we started going for the CSH. Our son was only 1.5 years old. I was also very actively involved. But then, घर भी तो कोई देखभाल करना है ना.
घर कैसे चलेगा?
अभी तो अगर घर से बाहर हो तो घर का क्या होगा?
Right.
ना, तो फिर I decided I'll take a back seat.
Okay.
अगर कुछ करना है, I'm still very aware of what's going on, but I don't get involved on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it. And he then went on to get on the executive board and everything.
Okay.
So he's very involved, and for him, I think he also recognizes that doing for the community is very important. It's a very big part of him.
Right. Okay. So Anupama, we are almost towards the end of the show. It's 12:55, and I personally don't have any questions left that I need to ask you. But if you have something as a closing lines that you would like to let our listeners and viewers know, please go ahead. And after that, we will end the show.
I think as a closing line, I think we need to recognize that the 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 entire world is becoming smaller, and to be able to celebrate our differences and own our differences but celebrate it. It's like you want it to be a salad, but you don't want it to be a khichdi, where you cannot differentiate between the individual pieces.
Right.
So you still want to be able to taste the lettuce, still be able to taste the olive, right?
सही तरीके से कहा है आपने, हाँ, एक अलग अंदाज से.
So I think that is the message ki I think keeping to traditional art is very important, because that becomes your root. That's who you are.
Right.
And I speak this to every person from every culture. It is
Right.
not just Indian.
Right.
Because only then you can collaborate.
Right. That is true. That is true. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Anupama. We loved this session. We enjoyed it a lot. And we got to know a lot about you and your journey and the good social causes that you are involved into. And as we already said, that all our good wishes and best luck with you. And you succeed and your dreams come true is our only hope. And once again, thank you very much. Namaskar. So until the next time, तो दोस्तों, that comes to an end of our Rubaru show. Until next time, शुक्रिया, धन्यवाद, शबा खैर.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत. बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
This is Bharat FM.
All right, now we are good. I stopped all the recording. So how did it go? Did you like it?